Orale vatos, this is Lukadowski of WeAreChange.org, and I already had one video ready to go for today, and we're not doing that because of two very important news updates that cannot be ignored. And that, of course, is the latest political distraction theater that is impeachment, specifically highlighting the response from Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, and Tulsi Gabbard, the presidential candidate for 2020, which is lighting off an entire media firestorm of disinformation and propaganda. And then, of course, we have a very important update and context to, the global child trafficking, government-enabled, protected, and abated child abuse program that a lot of people are involved in. All of that, plus a lot more, on an independent media organization that is only here, well, because of you and your support on wearechange.org/donate. Your support is more crucial than ever, and I sincerely thank everyone who allows these videos to be possible, to be free for you through the many different ways that you can support us on wearechange.org/donate, including a way without even you having to spend a dime. Again, the website is wearechange.org/donate. The link will be in the description. Sincerely, thank you all for keeping us alive. Now, of course, I'm going to jump into the most important relative story that actually does have an impact. And no, that's not impeachment. That, of course, is the criminality, actual criminality, that has gone unpunished, with thousands and thousands of children that were made victim because of it, and that is the Jeffrey Epstein saga. By the way, the video I'm going to be releasing tomorrow with Max Egan specifically gets into not just Jeffrey Epstein, but essentially how he was the fall guy and how a lot of the bigger criminals and crooks here are still out running around free, and the real bigger truths behind this operation, which is what it was. But this was a horrendous operation that had the participation of the most sinister and most powerful people in our society, including many popular eugenicists like Henry Kissinger, David Rockefeller, Lord Jacob Rothschild, the royal family, all individuals that believed in population control, eugenics, which is the common bond out of many that they shared with Jeffrey Epstein. And again, I can't reiterate how many celebrities, how many people this man was connected to. I mean, we're talking about the top of Hollywood, the top of late night TV show hosts, of politics, of academia. This man was connected to almost everyone significant, and predominantly it is not out of the realm of possibility, and actually very highly likely, that this man, Jeffrey Epstein, had dirt on all of these individuals. And this is why he was, some say, taken out, or maybe even escorted out of the prison. But this is why we are seeing an active cover-up right now happen by the U.S. Attorney General that was assigned and didn't recuse himself of this case, and that is the person selected by Donald Trump, U.S. Attorney General Barr, that has connections to Epstein throughout his entire career, who recently came out and said that his death was, quote, a perfect storm of screw-ups. And in reality, when you look at the latest development that we're getting right now, if you're not believing the larger conspiracy here, you are the conspiracy theorist. Like, if you really don't see what's happening here as this massive cover-up and conspiracy, you're the freaking conspiracy theorist. This is how absurd it has gotten. And just moments ago, we got more information of this continual government cover-up, because the top authorities here, not only in the jail, but also in our legal system, are the one aiding and abetting this sinister criminal enterprise that made children victims. As we got the latest news that the surveillance footage of the first alleged Jeffrey Epstein suicide attempt is now, quote, conveniently missing. Yeah, that's the official story once again, that there was yet another, quote, perfect screw-up with the perfect storm of screw-ups that is happening here, that is preventing real information from getting out there to the general public about what actually happened here. And this is, I mean, just blatant in your face a cover-up. And this is important to note here because Jeffrey Epstein, again, tried to commit suicide before he was suicided and taken off suicide watch and had his cellmate removed and had the surveillance footage around his cell mysteriously also malfunction. Again, when you really look at all the circumstantial evidence here, you really don't need anything else but to see this for what it is. And this is a criminal enterprise run amok by the people who society entrusts the most. And again, this is, again, continuing on with just the accidents with CCTV, the surveillance footage from outside his jail being unusable, DNA evidence still being denied, large swamps of evidence just being denied to the general public, as it looks like only the guards will be the ones who will get into any trouble here. Now, this incident is very important because it also contradicts the official story that we heard from the federal prison, the most important, allegedly the best federal prison in the United States, that said that Jeffrey Epstein tried to commit suicide. That was directly countered by Epstein and his lawyers, who said that something else happened and that he was being beat up. And now the footage to really find out what happened here, whether the federal jail was lying or whether Epstein was lying, well, that's all completely gone here because the authorities, without any explanation, don't know how the footage just went, quote, missing. And again, Epstein said that his cellmate was the one attacking him. The cellmate's lawyer requested that the footage be preserved as evidence, as documented in this case. And after being notified, well, the footage just vanished. Now, it's also important to note here that this cellmate that this case is regarding has also spoken out and said that he wants to be transferred out of this jail immediately and that he is scared for his life. And we really have a problem when individuals like this are scared for their life. Again, this is the cellmate. This is the ex-cop that went down for murder for many individuals that was selected to be Epstein's cellmate. And again, this excuse by the authorities that is unexplainable, that the footage allegedly just went missing. I mean, that's bullcrap. And if we lived in a just society, the people responsible for this would be in jail right now. And they're not. They're part of the cover-up, and they're just walking free because our system is corrupt and helps the abuse of little children. And this is why I don't have faith in the system. And this is why you shouldn't have faith in the system as well. Also, by the way, the chairman of Disney Studios, by the way, Richard Kirk, flew on the Lolita Express on the same week that he became chairman of Disney. Chew on that, as Star Wars also comes out today. But in related, similar news on why you should detest and not trust this system, we of course have the latest news of Donald Trump's impeachment, with many programmed, brainwashed individuals celebrating it and not understanding it for the political theater that it exactly is. It's a major distraction against the real issues, and essentially it's nonsensical. And again, many of these bonehead, brainwashed, CNN-watching morons don't understand that this doesn't mean that Trump's going to be removed from office. It means that there is enough evidence to move forward with the trial that will happen in the Senate, which is controlled by the Republicans. Now, there will be a jury, and it's debatable if there's going to be a big trial with many witnesses or if the president's not going to do anything, which it looks like it will, since, of course, he has the majority rule under the Republican Party in the Senate, which this entire kerfuffle, I would call it a kerfuffle, is unfolding it. And again, this to me is another joke. When you look at the very vague and generalized language and the two articles that are essentially going after Trump, I mean, they're nothing. They're nothing compared to what previous presidents did. They're nothing compared to what even Trump is doing now. You look at the actual cost of human life that was directly affected by very ill-advised actions by former presidents like Barack Obama and George W. Bush that made the world an unsafer place. Those are actions that really shouldn't be considered impeachable, especially the actions in Libya, in Syria, right now that are happening in Yemen, fighting alongside Al-Qaeda, which the United States president is allowing, which all, of course, started this war on terror by George W. Bush, who's essentially responsible for the human suffering and death of close to 1 million people. Yeah, when you invade countries on false pretenses and lie, when you engineer coup d'etats, when you send weapons to crazy Sunni Wahhabists in Saudi Arabia, when you spy and destroy the civil liberties of your fellow man, when you take away their human rights and dignity away from them, baby, yeah. Okay, we can talk impeachment then. But of course, that's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about hiding evidence from the House of Representatives, which is under obstruction of Congress, and another one that is charging him with, quote, abuse of power. That's like literally, going to a restaurant, they give you a menu, and the menu just says one word on it. It just says food. What am I going to do with that? Okay, now, we'll see what other sideshow nonsense we'll see during the trial, but there's a reason. Fictional characters in the Disney-controlled Star Wars, connected to Epstein, covered up by ABC News, connected to Disney too. Don't fall for the propaganda, please. There's a reason fictional characters like Baby Yoda have a higher approval rating than most Democratic candidates. And while we're being distracted by this nonsense, actual issues like the $1.4 trillion budget to make sure that the government runs. Again, the U.S. government needs $1.4 trillion just to operate in a year. If that's not an overbloated bureaucracy ripoff cheat on the American taxpayer, I don't know what is. $1.4 trillion. And of course, those issues don't matter to the mainstream media, as of course does just some of the cognitive dissonance that exists here, and that exists because of two individuals that are being severely attacked in the mainstream media. That, of course, is Russian President Vladimir Putin and Tulsi Gabbard, that had the gall to intellectually speak out and disagree on what was happening, with Putin directly saying that Trump was impeached completely on contrived, made-up grounds, with this being a continuation of domestic infighting by Democrats who lost the election. That, as Putin says, first accused Trump of colluding with Russia, now of, quote, pressuring Russia. Now, essentially, when you really look at the Ukraine thing, there was a little bit of holding back aid to Ukraine to actually go after Russia, but essentially, Trump was using his power to investigate the crimes of Joe Biden. So this is interesting that like Trump is getting impeached for the crimes of Joe Biden. But Putin directly said, and I quote him, "The party that lost the 2016 election, the Democratic Party, is trying to achieve results by other means." He also compared what's happening now to the larger accusations against Trump of Russian collusion, which, by the way, didn't really happen. We've been calling out since the beginning, and attacked by the mainstream media, which was wrong all along for calling it out as such. You know, it's incredible how many times we could be right, how many times the mainstream media could be wrong, but yet YouTube and the big tech companies still push the mainstream media and downrank and make sure that we get less and less viewers. It's interesting. It's almost as if there's a bigger agenda here. But I would have to say, I mean, I do believe Putin brings up important points here, and they are worth considering and debating and talking about, and not just laughed at, which the majority of the mainstream media is doing right now. Now, even Vladimir Putin is predicting that the U.S. Senate will reject this, which it most likely will. And now we, of course, have Tulsi Gabbard, who is also under attack by the sleuth, horse-stream, drug-addicted parasites at the mainstream media. If you didn't know this, I talked about this a lot. A lot of the mainstream media journalists are just substance-abusing junkies. Seriously. Like, seriously, I wouldn't believe... Would you believe a random crackhead on the street if he told you... No, you shouldn't. I mean, it's worse for some individuals, as again, a Fox Business reporter was just busted with a crack pipe at a federal building. But trust me, this is far more common than we know. But again, back to Tulsi here, who had the gall of vote present, which means she voted, not yes, not no, she voted that she was just there. She pretty much had a protest vote abstaining from the rest of the House Democrats that voted in favor of impeachment, being the only 2020 presidential Democratic contender that wasn't a bipartisan hack, and actually criticized these proceedings, which they deserve a lot of criticism of, saying, quote, "I could not in good conscience vote against impeachment because I believe President Trump is guilty of wrongdoing." But continuing on saying, "I also could not in good conscience vote for impeachment because removal of a sitting president must not be the accumulation of a partisan process fueled by tribal animosities that have so gravely divided our country. When I cast my vote in support of the impeachment inquiry nearly 3 months ago, I said that in order to maintain the integrity of this solemn undertaking, it must not be a bipartisan endeavor. Tragically, that's what it has been." And yeah, I mean, obviously, when you look at the actual crimes of the Oval Office against humanity, against the freedoms, against the individual liberties of people, yeah, I mean, this is absolute nonsense. When you really do look at only Democrats predominantly voting one way, and now Republicans who are going to be voting the complete other way, just making this null and void, it shows you that there's no critical analysis here. There's only gang affiliation that stays together no matter what true things happen or not. And again, I think Tulsi Gabbard has a point here, but according to MSNBC puppeteers, this is, quote, "the worst decision in this moment in history," saying that she should not be collecting a taxpayer-funded paycheck, which again is just more nonsensical dribble from hating, seething gang members that have no allegiance to the reality of our human existence and only care about power, which essentially is our entire political system, which is why a lot of people are disenfranchised. If you are too, and found some of these messages and some of the context that I provided here and some of the opinions that I provided here resonates with you, share this video with your friends and family members, because definitely Google, Alphabet, YouTube, and the Pentagon military industrial complex that works with it definitely will not. And because you guys still do, this is why. Love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching and supporting independent media. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.